You asked me for a comparison between the MSC Yacht Club and the MSC Explora. Let's get into that, but let's get a coffee first. I always start my morning with a coffee. Usually, if I'm at the Yacht Club, I go to the top sail lounge, sit there at the bar, ask the barista for an espresso. And if I'm in the Explora, I just go down to Café Creme and ask for a coffee. And honestly, if we are comparing, at the Explora we do have more options because we have dark roast, medium roast, decaf, strong from different regions, while at the Yacht Club we just got the one blend and we need to get that one. Not quite. There is one ship though, which is the World Class ship, the World Europa. And in World Europa, you have the Cafe Emporium, which has options for different variety of coffees. And yes, it is included in the package, so you don't have to pay it as specialty coffee. I personally love the Turkish coffee. So to do this comparison, we can't just say Explora versus Yacht Club. It will depend on the ship and quite importantly, on the crew and staff. The crew and staff make a huge difference. So to compare the ships, it's not only Explora versus Yacht Club because Explora is a ship category and we will need to see some ship-wide things. So I will be comparing the Explora with the ships that have the Yacht Club. Well, one of those that I've already mentioned was the MSC World Class, probably also the Seaside class that we will need to mention. I would recommend also looking at the Meraviglia class, which has some specialities, and even the MSC Fantasia class, which is the first ship that we see with MSC Yacht Club. Let's get into the comparison. Because this video might be longer than usual, I'm going to split it into different chapters. And I've looked at some points that I would like to talk about to do this comparison. And let's be honest, it's not about which one is better, if Explora or Yacht Club. They both cater to different type of cruising experience. And even the same person might prefer one or the other depending on the particular cruise experience. You know, one typical thing is like how many sea days you have. If you have a lot of sea days, you want to benefit more the ship. If you have a lot of ports, you are interested in priority embarkation, disembarkation in each port or tender call or whatever. The points I'll be looking at is the age of the brand because that creates some points with the experience that you have, you know, talking with the team itself and what they can do and they can't do. Another thing is with the booking experience. The booking experience is different with the two companies, although they basically are the same brand and use a lot of the same IT systems underneath. The embarkation, disembarkation, how to manage the luggage, that will be another chapter. Another chapter will be about the accommodations, the rooms, how do they compare to each other. The dining experience on both. The dining experience is another tab. I'll also be looking at the cruise staff because the cruise staff does make or break a cruise experience. What activities, what entertainment exists? What about the ship itself, you know, like the pools, fitness centers, locations to work or to just cool down, chill down. Shore excursions, that is usually a hot topic as well for these companies. And of course the overall value. You know, a lot of times we say that we can't compare the two things because they are two different experiences, but in the end of the day, let's be honest, we put our money into the experience we want. So for us is how we value our money for that experience is important. So let's start with the age of the company or the age of the brand. Explora is new. It's only got two ships at this moment. The third ship is already ordered, so they are growing in the experience. And I already noticed that they have changed a lot of their management team throughout this period because they're trying to figure out in which market segment they are located. And that takes time. But that time also is important to understand, for example, on how the call centers react, on how the support to their travel agents happens. Because the things are not clear. Take one example that happened with me, and this can already go into the booking process. When booking, the two ships, Explora 1 and Explora 2, they have different configurations, and they have this particular thing that other cruise lines don't have, which is the rooms are either twins or they are double, and they don't change configuration. And if you try to change, it's going to be a little bit messy. And a lot of the people you talk to don't even know about this. A lot of the people that are in the call centers, they've got no clue what's the experience like on the ship. And for me, it did take a bit of time until I got even my room sorted out on Explora 2, because I was going with a partner and we wanted to share the cabin just to reduce costs, as opposed to go solo traveling. We found out that they booked initially a double room, but we wanted to be on separate bed. And then we finally got the separate bed, so we managed to get a twin room, but it was complicated. We had to change floors and the category because it was no longer available in one category, and yeah, a big mess. And then on board we found out that the twin beds, they are close to each other. They couldn't split, so it did become a problem. You can check my video on that cabin experience. So it does create some issues there, and the age is quite important of the brand. On the prices, it's not easy at this moment in time, and it's got to do with this age of Explora. At this moment in time, what I notice is the base prices of Explora are slightly higher than Yacht Club, but with all the promotions that Explora is doing to try to create probably some brand awareness, there are quite a lot of discounts out there. It's not even easy to find all the discounts out there, because some of the discounts only travel agents and specialized travel agents get these discounts, not even all travel agents, and even less on the website, which puts me placing like Yacht Club slightly higher level than Explora, than remaining MSC, with the Explora touching there the Yacht Club. Now, with the embarkation, the cruise ship can take roughly what, 1,000 people, more or less, so you can expect like 1,000 people to get into the port. Now, fortunately, or unfortunately for the company, the cruise ships have not been at full capacity, and my experience was at a third capacity. So roughly 370 people were on board when I was there on board the Explora 2 for the transatlantic crossing. And thus, the experience with embarkation was relatively fast. Although in Yacht Club, there are 300 people, but with the specialized area for just to cater for these 300 people. So usually with the Yacht Club, my experience has been much more expedited, unless there are some custom regulations when you are crossing between countries. You know, an example, when I was doing the Yacht Club, even from Brazil to Portugal, so that was a big crossing, it was a little bit complicated and it took a while to get into the ship. But usually it is a very fast process. But let's be honest, if you're traveling with Explora on the resident suites, you get expedited just like the Yacht Club. And there, because it's such a smaller group, they go like very, very fast through the embarkation process. So quite simple. Luggage tags, everything very simple, very smooth. It didn't feel at all like any other mass company. It's very similar, the experience with embarkation. I would give some points to Yacht Club on that though. On the accommodation side, well, the bigger ships of MSC, where they have the Yacht Club, the rooms are bigger in general. Even the deluxe cabin is much bigger on the Yacht Club than comparing with the Explora. The rooms are good, they've got a good quality, all the lining, everything is quite perfect. I would say that the bed mattresses on the Explora is slightly more elevated than on the Yacht Club. The only problem I saw was particularly on the room, for the twin room, that configuration of the beds is not adequate. And probably if you are traveling with 3 or 4, like your children, you have to make sure that the sofa bed allows for them to be in. And once more, the configurations are different per room. They have rooms where the sofa bed doesn't open. Others is the sofa bed is for 1, others the sofa bed is for 2. So you just have to care with that. But I do think that you have 4 people in a cabin, that will be a bit complicated. So probably better getting 2 cabins or so, while on the Yacht Club in general, you can fit 3 or 4 without too much complication in the room. The balcony, though, is much better equipped at the Explora experience as compared to the Yacht Club experience. On the Yacht Club, you just have those two small chairs with that footrest. On the Explora, you have this big sofa bed on the balcony, which you can lie and enjoy the view. And you've got a proper table if you want to have dining in room. Because on the Yacht Club, that's not really an option to have in dining at the room, except some rooms, and I'm looking at, for example, on the Meraviglia class, they have like the duplex where they have a proper table inside the room, but not in the balcony. So it is quite important to understand those slight differences that you get from the different ships. Well, not the interior rooms. Yacht Club does have interior rooms. On Explora, everything has a balcony. Now, food. I would say Explora gets a huge plus there. They've really got a huge quality of food. And if we compare on food, it's a bit difficult to compare the experiences. Although in general, I would say Explora has much better food options than you have in the Yacht Club. But, take for example the buffet. It's very difficult to tell the buffet, to call that a normal buffet of any ship. It is simply amazing. And this brings me to another thing is, because they have these different thematic restaurants around the ship, they are not, I wouldn't call specialty dining because they are all included in the tariff you have. So they are all complimentary. But if you go to the Fil Rouge, you'll have that type of food. If you go to the Marble & Co., you'll go for the steaks. So it's very difficult to cater for a group. If you want different things within the group, you have to kind of understand which one you want. But on the other side, it gives you the option. If you want to go for sushi, you've got the Sakura, that is there, and you've got some Asian food, fantastic. So the variety does give it a little bit of an extra there, but diversity of food doesn't change as often. The buffet is a little bit the exception. They are always changing, but it kind of falls within the same thematic. But it kind of falls always within the same themes as you get the different food, the different stations around there. I would say it's kind of like equal, probably a plus to the Explora side on the food side, but then you get some weird things because if you complement on the Yacht Club with the specialty dining, then you elevate your experience in the Yacht Club regarding food probably to better than you have on Explora. Take the steaks. Butcher's Cut, which is not a matter of Yacht Club. Anybody that is on MSC can go to the Butcher's Cut. You have their fantastic steaks. While the steakhouse of the Explora, unfortunately, the steaks doesn't seem to be their highlight. Which is funny because on the Fil Rouge is where I had the best steak, which is not the steak restaurant. So very weird configuration, but probably it comes back to that thing of the age. And as Explora sees the comments of everybody on what they are doing on the ships, good and wrong and bad and good and excellent, I think they will manage it and get it better over time. It can only get better. It's already a fantastic experience, don't get me wrong. I can't complain, but it is an amazing experience, okay? I know probably the fanboys of either Explora or Yacht Club, they will hate me for both the same reasons, or one because I prefer Explora on some things, others because I prefer the Yacht Club on some things, but overall they are two great brands and two great experiences. Now, a point where I really find a big difference is on the crew and staff. In general, the crew and staff over the whole ship on Explora is much friendly than the crew and staff on the MSC. But on the Yacht Club side of it, on the Yacht Club section, the crew is amazing, fantastic. And because you deal with a fewer group of people, you probably will deal with like 5-6 people of the staff, and you deal with these frequently, all the time. You get your waiter at the table, and you'll always try to get the same waiter. If you sit at the lounge, on the topsail lounge to get a drink, you'll always get the same waiter coming to you, and you develop that relationship at a certain moment in time. They immediately know what you like. On Explora, because you are always jumping from different venues, the staff will be different and you will not interact with the same all the time. For example, one that for me was critical was the sommelier. Because on the Yacht Club, I'm always in the main dining room. Well, sometimes I go to the specialty restaurants, but it's always in the main dining room. So I always get the same sommelier. They only have one anyway. And I like to interact with them. And little by little, as we go through the journey, the sommelier understands my tastes, my preferences, and starts recommending the wines according to my taste. On the Explora Journeys, I didn't like the interaction with the sommelier because basically they had the sommelier on each of the restaurants, so they don't know my preferences. And to be quite honest, when I went to the restaurant and asked for the sommelier, the first thing he asked me is, what do I want to drink? And I like the sommelier when he asks me, what are you having? What are you planning on eating? So that they can recommend the best available wines to pair with that food that I want to have. Or the other way around. If I say like, oh, I really want the Cabernet Sauvignon, what food do you recommend me to have with the Cabernet Sauvignon? And that role of the sommelier, I didn't see happening on the Explora. Basically, they came with a menu. What wine do you want? You want one of the paid wines? Pay the wine. You want one of the complimentary wines? Select it, done. So lacking that experience. And this gets elevated at the level of the sommelier because of my tightness of awareness that I like to have, but it somehow feels across the ship, you know. But I have to tell you, the barista at the Explora was amazing. But his specialty was coffee. And because coffee was the big thing on the Explora, he knew all the time what I wanted and how do I want to change and vary and diversify my options. And he was always trying to bring the next thing for me. So that was really a fantastic experience. But I was ending up always going to the same cafe. So it was obvious that he was going to know me. And that is really an experience. The butler on the Yacht Club makes a huge difference. Of course, there are cruises or there are itineraries I did where I couldn't care less who the butler is. And honestly, I didn't even get to know who the butler is. But on some cruises and some experiences, I met amazing butlers. They could predict what I wanted just from the first 2 days of interaction. And this was really good. And they were always present, always trying to get it to help me. You know, take even a simple thing. You know, I got some butlers who were amazing. You know, some of them said, oh, you're going to the show tonight at which, the 8 or the 10 o'clock show? Oh, you're going to the 10 o'clock show? Make sure you ask for me. I want to be your butler. I want to help you. And he wanted to escort me. He didn't want to just any other butler do the job for him. So it is quite an amazing, interesting relationship you can develop with your butler on board the different cruises. And the experiences I had were really amazing. Now, with the cruise staff, you know, the experience is also quite different. For example, take the Fantasia class, which is the smallest of their ships with the Yacht Club and the oldest with the Yacht Club. Is probably where I got into a more personal, cozy, friendly relationship with the general staff of the ship, you know, the concierge, the butler, the people at the lounge, everything. It was amazing because we were really a very small group that these people were attending to. On the other side, a ship like the MSC World Europa, and I presume will happen the same thing with World America, even the Yacht Club is so big that coziness, that more personalized service, I didn't find it there. I didn't enjoy as much. Although World Europa, you know, if you go back to the dining experience, they offer more options of restaurants than the other ships included in the Yacht Club package. So it's kind of like trying to understand what you want. I personally, I love to develop that relationship with the crew, with the staff. It becomes super friendly. It allows me to get everything much more smooth. So I would say some points to Yacht Club on that, but don't get me wrong, it's a very, very close, tight margin. Another example is the entertainment staff on Explora. They are much friendlier than you find on the other ships because they are not dedicated to the Yacht Club people. They are doing for 6,000 passengers on the ship. So as you can imagine, there is no interaction that they will allow, and I think that is correct. But over here, they play the piano, they sing at the piano for you, or whatever instrument. So you can interact, ask for the songs you want, get to know them, get a feeling overall, and becomes a much nicer environment in that sense. So, so it becomes quite different if you are on the Yacht Club or if you are on the generic MSC side versus the Explora. So Explora becomes kind of like somewhere in the middle with the relationship with the cruise staff. Activities and entertainment. I've heard feedback of people that have found like no entertainment at all. And I got even this feedback when I created the video, and I have one video just dedicated to the entertainment on the Explora, which they felt like to be non-existent. Reality is it is a smaller ship, so you don't get these huge production Broadway style shows like you get on the other ships. So you will miss probably on those. But the cruise staff there interacts much more, so you can see always them playing, entertaining, and so on. On the quizzes, for example, I found amazing the staff on the Explorer. And to be honest, I don't even want to go when there are quizzes on the generic MSC ships, because these are outside of the Yacht Club, and it's just a nightmare. It's just a confusion. So it depends a little bit on that. For children, I didn't see any entertainment on the Explorer. On the MSC generic, yes, but it's also outside of the Yacht Club, where the children can interact and play and have a lot of entertainment. Explorer is honestly, they do have a room there for teenagers, but it feels like it's a ship for adults. It is really a ship for adults. You can take your children with you, you want, but I think they'll get a little bit bored on that side of the fence. You, yourself, you can have a lot of fun. It just depends on how you interact. On the ship itself, well, Explora is an amazing ship. And because the ship size for the passenger is a fantastic ratio, you can always go anywhere in the ship. Well, probably, I found the ship at the third capacity, but you could go anywhere in the ship without any problem. Nobody was trying to get lounges or stretchers near the pools. Actually, having a lot of pools, and you can see my video on the pools, having a lot of pools puts the people spread around the ship. And you can just have whatever pool you like, the ones you enjoy, and just get there and relax and have fun and enjoy it. So it's really good. Even, like things like the gym. The gym on the bigger MSC ships, of course, it's much better because it's got much more equipment. But reality is, it is usually so crowded that you can't do anything there. And I did love the fact that the Explorer had the open air gym, so you can have sun, vitamin D while you are toning your body. I think that is perfect. And they have the walking, the jogging trail. Everybody partakes on that. It is really good. And because they have so much space, you don't see the stretchers of the pool stretchers on the running deck as you find on other ships. With the exception probably on the seaside class. On the seaside class, because they have the promenade on the deck 6 or 7, I can't remember exactly, but you could go there and do your laps around there. And usually there you don't find the stretchers over the pool, with the exception of the back part of the ship where they have a pool there. But you could do a pretty good walk without a lot of interruption around there. And you could also do the walk upstairs. And talking about that fight of the stretchers, the C class was probably where I find the best, let's say, summer kind of vacation you want to have around the pool. They've got like the 2 pools plus the jacuzzis. So it is quite nice for the Yacht Club people that they don't have to mingle and be with all the crowd around the pools there. So that was really a good ship over there. On the other ships, that ratio of pool to passengers was not as high as I found on the seaside class. But it is okay. You don't have to fight for a stretcher, so that is good. You can always relax. And that is really the amazing. But the quantity of jacuzzis and pools that Explorer has, it beats the other ships. But like I said, probably the seaside class, ships like the Seascape, they are very good on this area as well. So it depends a little bit on which ship you have. And that's why it's very difficult to just compare Explora with Yacht Club. You have to understand which ship of the Yacht Club you are. And honestly, they are all good. It's just a matter of what's your particular tastes, or what are your particular preferences. And also the itinerary, it will be quite different on the itinerary. Take the seaside class. The seaside class, if you do a Norwegian fjords cruise, I think it would be a waste of that cruise ship there, because it really becomes good is with the summer vacations. So things like the Caribbean are fantastic for doing with the seaside class, or maybe even the Mediterranean, but on that more extreme hot weather level. If you are doing a Norwegian fjords, or like a winter cruise, probably a class like the Meraviglia would be the best one. Honestly, the one I least recommend is the world class ship. On the shore excursion side, there I have to be honest, Explora is simply expensive, and they do exactly the same excursions as any other of the ships they have to the same ports. I think it's the same team that negotiates this with the different operators. And because Explora is targeting a higher class, they just put the price higher. And I've checked this, some tours with Explora, for example, they could be like $50 plus on the same tour, or even $100 plus for exactly the same tour. And the difference was, okay, they negotiated with the tour operator so that they don't count the drinks or food as they serve the people. So there is probably where it really goes. So that area of the tour excursion, I would say MSC beats Explora. But anyway, probably if you are an experienced cruise, you even go with external operators, like Viator or Get Your Guide. Those are quite good options. So overall, and sorry for talking a lot, so overall it depends a bit on the experience you want. If you want to stay just inside, indoors, you might like a thing like Explora or one of the smaller ships like Fantasia class. If you want to do a lot of port activities, probably the bigger ships might be interesting. But then again, the Explora size allows for these smaller ports. So that would allow for more itineraries. And I do hope that Explora works on the itineraries rather than on using the same itineraries as the other big ships do, because that is the advantage they have over the other ones. With this video, I don't intend to tell which one is better or worst. It's just to make awareness. And if you know one, by understanding the differences, you probably get to understand what the other is like if you never experienced it. If you experience both, probably you share my opinion, or maybe not. It depends on your taste. And that is what is important, just to get this awareness. I love both experiences. I've got experiences booked with both of them for future cruises. So do tune in onto the channel, subscribe if you like this, and hopefully you get more content that can help you make better decisions on what to do. Drop on the comments what you want, what you like, and I'll try to accommodate it, because the benefit of having a small channel is the interaction is much bigger. And get ready for my next cruise. I'll create a video in the next couple of days talking about what it will be. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you on this channel again.